Welcome, everyone. We're joined by a very special guest today, Bill Jelen. Bill, I know all about your background because I've internet stalked you many, many times since discovering your work about a decade ago, but people here might not be as familiar. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background?
Sure. Yeah. I'm an Excel geek, right? I somehow make a living just knowing a lot about Excel and sharing everything I know with people on YouTube. I have about 2,300 videos out on YouTube. I've written a lot of books, 61 books or something like that about Excel. And up until a few years ago, I was on the road a lot. I was doing 35 seminars a year around the Eastern United States. And we finally just decided after 17 years of that, it wasn't fun anymore. I love doing the seminars. Nothing was better than doing the seminars, but getting there and getting home was just too much. So I said, this is it. We're going to stop doing the live seminars. And it was really lucky for me because a few months later, COVID hit and everything would have been canceled. So, it's great to be doing some online events again, getting to talk to people, hearing your Excel problems that, nothing brightens my day more than a good Excel problem, so that's it. It's kind of crazy. 30 years ago, I don't think anyone could have made a living as an Excel consultant. People would just say like, what? Yeah, oh, I could hear my neighbors whisper, oh, he's unemployed. But somehow you make a go of it. So I love doing this.
So think back, you mentioned like 30 years ago. Do you remember the first time you ever used Excel?
Actually, let's go back further than that. My very first spreadsheet ever was back in 1984 on a Texas Instruments 99.4A using Microsoft Multiplan, right? And I was in college. I remember doing some budgets and tracking some financials in there. I worked for a company that sold computer software. And so you could kind of like take anything home, and try it out. And so I loaded up Multiplan and built a little general ledger system, except I had credits on the right and debits on the left. It was backwards. I hadn't taken accounting yet. But then my first real use was Lotus 123. And this is, that obviously dates how old I am. Back in the 80s, Lotus was, 89% market share. And I used Lotus 123 religiously from 1987 up probably until 1995, when the company I was working for switched over to Excel. And then using Excel. And it's funny, I wasn't supposed to be using Excel, right? We had, the company I was working for, they had a big $100,000 reporting package, and we were supposed to use that, except it didn't work, right? And the one thing that did work was the button that said export to spreadsheet. And so, the VP of finance thought I was back there using his $100,000 reporting package. I was just taking everything to Excel. I became really, really fast at doing things in Excel. And as long as I could beat the programmers down in the IT department, it was fine. They were happy. And I ran into that guy maybe 10 years ago in Chicago. And I said, I have to thank you for giving me the start, but we weren't using that $100,000 reporting package. That was all done in a spreadsheet, behind the scenes. So.
For everyone else here, do you remember when you first used a spreadsheet program? Was it Excel? Was it Lotus 123? Type in the chat. Let me know. I'd love to hear some fun memories if you have any. I distinctly remember, this will date me too, but being a kid in the 90s, my dad was an economist in downtown DC. And so he was in Excel all day, every day, and still is. And he would be like, Anne, come here. I want to teach you this trick. And it was like, Control C to copy. It was little things that an elementary school kid could learn, but that was Lotus. I don't think I used Excel later though, maybe till college. It was a while. I don't think we used it since then.
That's funny. I got in trouble teaching my kids how to use spreadsheets because for me, Mrs. Excel was a nurse. She was a nurse. She went in at night, right? She was gone in the evening. And so I'd be home with the kids and, hey, you got math homework. Let me show you. You have to do greatest common denominator. That's built into Excel. We can make this homework disappear in Excel. So they could do their homework really fast. But then when test day came, they had no clue how to calculate least common multiple, greatest common denominator, or factorials because dad had taught them how to do it in Excel. And of course, the math teacher, thought that they were actually going to do it. So yeah, my kids loved Excel at first until the test day came around.
Speaking of Mrs. Excel, Are you familiar with Miss Excel?
Oh yeah, I love those 15-second TikTok videos from Kat Norton. I, when I first saw them, I'm like, I can't even say hello in 15 seconds. But then I watched a handful of them. The one, the Fago video, where in 15 seconds she teaches how to do a 2-variable sensitivity analysis in 15 seconds. That was the one where I wrote to Microsoft. I said, Kat has to be an MVP. Anyone who can teach this concept in 15 seconds, that's the greatest feat in the world. Yeah. So yes, let's hope
Yeah,
that.
you all have to look her up if you're not familiar with her, Miss Excel. I can't dance, so I will never be TikTok famous, but she somehow can dance and teach Excel simultaneously, which is just incredible to me.
It is amazing. I finally realized that she had like a 1-hour webinar that she did maybe a week ago or 2 weeks ago. So I signed into that. It was great just to see more than 15 seconds of her. Like she, actually can say complete sentences and, lots of great Excel tricks. So that was cool.
Well, speaking of Excel tricks, what's your
Yes.
favorite? Do you have a favorite feature or function?
So my number one feature of all time, and the one that I start almost every Excel seminar with, is, let's say you have 50,000 rows of data, right? And headings in row 1, of course, data in A through G, and over there in H2 you enter a formula, right? And now that formula has to get copied down. And I don't use tables. I don't press Control T ever. I don't like the features that I lose when we use tables. So for me, I just have to copy it down. And unfortunately, most people grab the fill handle and they start to drag. And dragging through 60,000 rows of data is horrible. Now, a few people know the keyboard shortcuts: Control C, left, Control down, right, Control Shift up, and then Control V. But when I show people how to double click the fill handle, so go to that little square dot that you usually drag and just double click. If I'm in front of 100 people and 30 of them go, I know that I'm going to have a great day, right? That's the one that will save you so much time. So double click the fill handle to copy formula down is always my number one go-to trick.
Does anybody else here want to share one of your favorites, like a favorite go-to Excel technique? I'm going to say mine are pivot tables, lookups, and I love my conditional formatting. I think I joke in this course, I'm like, click on Anne's favorite button of all time, conditional formatting. I'm a visual person, of course, so I love my data bars and my heat maps.
Oh yeah, that's good. Do you have any problem? So when data bars first came out, there were a bunch of visualization people who were very antagonistic about data bars, that they, like at 0, they actually showed a little bit of color at 0, and that the gradient was irritating people. I'm like, no, these are cool, right? What are you all upset about? This is a great feature. So what's your opinion? Do you have any problems with that?
I have a blog post called 24 conditional formatting features that should be retired from Excel. I love the solid fill ones. I use the solid fill data bars all the time. I'm not a fan of the gradients, because if you're supposed to compare the lengths of the bars, but they fizzle out towards the end, how do you see it? So no, I use them all the time. And hopefully people in this course have gotten to those lessons so far. I use them in dashboards.
Right.
I think I use them every single day. So those are a good one if people haven't discovered them yet.
How about spark lines? Do you use spark lines at all?
Yeah.
Do you show spark lines?
Yeah.
Of course you do.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
of course you do.
All the time. Those are the ones that when I'm teaching, that, let's say, like you said, if there's 100 people in the audience, there's like 30 oohs and ahs, or sometimes 90 oohs and ahs. That's exciting.
Right,
I love that.
Yeah.
I feel like that about them. Tell me more about tables, because I don't use tables either. I was never taught to use them.
High five. Let's
yeah, okay.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
By the time I realized what Excel tables were, I feel like it was almost too late for me to start using them. But then I kind of figured out their ins and outs. So I wasn't so wowed. But tell me more about this.
Yeah, so I hate tables because it turns off several features, deep features, but features that I use all the time. You can't do subtotals. On the data tab, there's a subtotal command on the far right-hand side, and I love subtotals. When I used to work using Excel 40 hours a week, I use subtotals every single day. They were one of my core go-to features. When I didn't need a pivot table, subtotals would do it. And those don't work with tables, so that irritates me. Custom views is a feature that is great for hiding and unhiding sheets. And today I get it, we can unhide all the sheets at once, but it used to be that you can only unhide one sheet, so I would use custom views for that. Those don't work with tables. And I'm still annoyed that when I want to copy 2 sheets from this workbook to another workbook, You can't do it if there's a table on both sheets. Like, what's their problem? Their problem, that's being the Excel team's problem. So for me, I just reject tables. And I've run into a lot of people now who are giving me a lot of heat over that. They're like, what do you mean you don't use tables? Tables are the greatest thing ever. I'm like, yeah, not to me. Sorry.
So when I was watching your YouTube videos this morning, as I was drying my hair, corralling the kids and everything, that was one of the videos I watched about hiding and unhiding sheets, because I think somebody maybe in this course had recently asked me, like, can you hide and unhide multiple sheets at once? And I was like, maybe, not that I know of, but it is possible. So I will find that link to Bill's video and share it with you all.
They just added that. That's one of the features that, there's this great website where if you're passionate about Excel, you can talk to the Excel team. You can give them suggestions. And that was a suggestion that had been out there for a long time. Like, we can hide all the sheets at once, but we can't unhide more than one. And it just came about, 2 months ago. They finally released that. And it's released to what they call the Insiders program or the beta program. So you have to be on Microsoft 365, and your IT department has to agree that you get updates every month instead of once every 6 months. But even if you're on the 6-month plan, it'll be coming, right? It'll be there. And it's just one of those small, tiny things that, now being able to unhide a bunch of sheets at once, that's huge. So,
is that just for MVPs though to be in that program, or is that for could any
anyone,
of us here?
Anyone can be an Office Insider. You just Google how to be an Office Insider and you sign up. If you're a consumer, it's much easier. If you're an enterprise customer, there's some hoops you have to jump through, but it's not bad, and you do it once and you're in. So, yeah.
We talked about some of your favorite features of Excel. What about any pet peeves or gripes? I told you I have that blog post about some conditional formatting features I wish would just kind of go away.
Right. Yeah.
Any features you don't love so much?
I have a constant gripe, and I actually get some pushback on this gripe, that in the pivot table field list, when you're creating a pivot table on the right-hand side, there's 4 drop zones, filters, columns, rows, and values. And there's a little icon next to those. And I'm convinced that in Excel 2007, the icon for rows and the icon for columns were reversed. It's showing the wrong area where the data is going to be dropped. And when you're trying to teach someone new to pivot tables, how pivot tables work, the icon doesn't help. And I've talked to the guy at Microsoft who's in charge of pivot tables now, and he agrees with me. But when I do a YouTube video about this, I get 10% of the people saying, stop that. It's right. It's right the way it is. Don't change it. Right. So I'm convinced that it's wrong. There's a lot of people that are upset with that, but that's not a feature issue. That's just an icon issue. Right. Other than that, gripes. Yeah. I wish they gave us a function 2 years ago called text join, which is great. It lets you do concatenation. If I have a list of names in A2 to A20 and I want to put them in one cell with commas in between, text join will let me do that. And there's been talk that they need the opposite function. They need text split. I have a friend, an MVP, who created a VBA function. It's one line of code. It's literally one line of code. Why is this taking so long to get text split? So I really wish we had text split to go with text join. Just will let you split the data back into columns or whatever. So.
Kirsten says text join ? Concatenate text and numbers ? Tell us more about those features.
Yeah, so text join is great. You can always do equal A2 ampersand B2 to take the text in both cells and put it together. But if you wanted to do several cells, it was always equal A2 ampersand A3 ampersand A4 ampersand A5. And if you needed a space between each one, now we're equal A2 ampersand space, quote, ampersand. It's just terrible. So text join, the first thing in text join says, what do we want to put it between everything? So you can put quote space quote, or quote comma space quote if you want a comma between everything. Or even, don't do this, you can put a character 10 if you want to wrap text, like if you want everything on its own line in the cell, which of course creates all kinds of problems, and I shouldn't even suggest it. Second argument is, what do we do with empty cells? So if you have a bunch of people and someone doesn't have a last name, like Madonna or Cher or Prince, do you want comma there, or you can ignore the empty cells? And then the third item is the range of data. And it can even be, an array formula out there that says only give me the people who work in the department XYZ. And then it just gives you the whole thing in one cell. And sometimes, this is funny. Sometimes I have a lot of data in Excel and I want to take that data to Word, not as a table, but as a paragraph. And text join will put that in a big paragraph for me. And I just copy the whole thing out to Word and take all my Excel data. And now I can edit it in Word. I do that for the transcripts for the videos. That comes down in a file that ends up in Excel, and I want it in Word. And that's just a beautiful way to get it together. Kirsten, you asked about concatenate text and numbers. When you've tried to do that, it's super frustrating because the number always gets unformatted. Like if you have dollar signs in there with 2 decimal places and it happens to be end in 50, you'll lose that last 0. But you can concatenate the text cell A2 with the text function, equal text, and specify what format you want it to be. So, yeah. Yes, that's right. So it's a way to concatenate items without having to repeat the quote space quote. Definitely, that's it. And I think it came along in 2017. So there's a good chance that you have it, unless you're back in 2010 or something like that.
Somebody sent me a message asking if you might be able to share screens. Maybe we can get you doing some screen sharing and some demos.
Sure.
I know sometimes these techniques sound like total jargon the first time you hear the names of the formulas, but you all know, like I'm visual. I like to see things too.
I love it. Yeah. So can I share my Excel screen right at the bottom? Or?
Yeah, go for it. And then Bill, while you're pulling that up, I bet you know this out of anybody I know, I bet you know the answer. How many different Excel functions are there right now?
Oh, that's hilarious. I used to know that answer. It's 480 something. They just added a few.
Okay, I was going to guess like 430. I think that was the latest number I heard. And how many of those do you think you know?
I know them all, but how many do I use? Very few. I probably use 20 on an ongoing basis. But there's been several books where I've had to write something about every single function. And there were a few there that really threw me for a loop. The equal fact double function took me forever to figure out an example for that. And the square root of pi equal SQRT pi. I was in Springfield, Missouri doing a seminar, and someone there at that seminar worked for a company that made tanks, underground tanks. And turns out square root of pi is used to figure out how big of a round tank you need to have the equivalent square tank or something like that. So I happened to run into someone who used square root of pi, but the fact double, there's nothing on Google. If you Google fact double, there is nothing out there about how to use fact double. And the only example I could come up with, well, there were two, is a tennis tournament where you have to lose twice to be thrown out, or Texas Hold'em poker. You can take the fact double, the number of people at the table, and calculate something, right? But it was just one of those ones. Every time I Googled it, you would end up at a page saying, "What's this for?" Right? And no one had actually had an example. So those were the two hardest functions to try and write about. All right. So can you see my screen? Yeah. Can you see the Excel file?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So what I have over here is I'm going to put in Andy, and I have a custom list already created here with a bunch of names like that. And I want to put all those names into a single cell. All right. So equal text join. And I want to put maybe a comma space between everyone. And ignore empty cells. Sure. I'll say ignore empty cells. You can either write true or one. One is always the same as true. And then choose where your data is, like that. And what I get is Andy, Barb, Chris, Diane, Ed, Flo. But now let's make it a little bit more powerful. So we'll do something like this. So equal if the rand is less than 0.5, and they're coming. So yes, otherwise no. What you get there is a bunch of yeses and nos. All right, here's an awesome little trick. I need to convert those formulas to values. And while there's keyboard shortcuts for that, I learned this trick in Columbus, Indiana. I went to the right edge of the data here. I right click, I drag to the right. I don't let go. I'm still holding down the right mouse button and drag back. And then when you let go, there's this awesome menu that pops up. I have no idea how the guy ever discovered this. Right click, drag right, drag left, copy here as values only. All right, so what I get there is now those yeses and nos are permanent. And I'm gonna say if that data in B2 to B15 is equal to yes, then I want the corresponding cell from A2 to A15. Otherwise, I'm going to create an empty cell with quote, quote. right? And so what that's going to do is the third argument, the if statement, is going to evaluate everybody over there in column B, get just the yeses and give me the names. And so now I get Andy, Barb, but not Chris and Diane, Ed, Flo, and so on. And then if I would change Chris from no to yes, you'll see that they show up there in that, in that list, right? So that's a great way to take data and put it like this. But now what I really want is I want text split. I want to be able to take that and break it out into a column or something like that. And of course I can do it with text to columns, but I want a formula to do that. Like how many names are there? To figure out how many names are there, you have to count how many commas are there. I don't know. I would love to be able to just break that into an array and then do a count A or something like that, rather than have to do a length. It's just terrible. You'd have to do the length and then take the commas out and then do another length, compare the two, add one because there's no comma after the last person. It's just ugly. So text split would make a whole bunch of things easier to do.
Right. Kirsten says, wow, in all caps. That is amazing. I'm having the same reaction watching you. I absolutely love watching other people work in Excel, especially extremely skilled people like you, because I learned so many things. This is amazing.
I create fake data sets on the fly all the time. And so I have these data sets saved so I can create, fake data really fast. Is Alabama? Yeah, right. And this is a cool trick. Everyone has a list that you have to type all the time. A list of the territories in Kenya, or a list of the departments at the University of Montana, right? You have that list and you need that list over and over and over. And all you have to do is type your list, right? Type the list of people or anything and select that list. The list has to be at least two, as long as 250. Select the list and go into File Options. Oh, geez. In File Options, it's crazy. We have all these categories along the left-hand side. The advanced one is the longest one. This is like 18 miles long. Go all the way down to the bottom, and there's something there called Edit Custom Lists. And you can just import Ann, Bill, Carla, and now it will be able to generate that list very quickly. I know everyone knows this for Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, or January, February, March, but you can add your own list of things out here, and you can even sort by that list. If you have to sort into some weird sequence, pivot tables will sort by that list. So using the custom list is one of those cool little deep tricks that is buried in there, but it has all kinds of great uses. All right.
Tara asks, what is RAND?
RAND. Okay. So RAND is this awesome little thing that will generate a decimal number between 0 but not including 1. All right. So every time I press F9, I get a whole bunch of numbers. I don't use RAND ever. I know I just used it recently. What I really use is RAND between. RAND between is great for generating fake data that, let's say, is between 111 and 999. So I just copy that. It gives me integers instead of a bunch of decimals. All right. Now, for me, when I used RAND, I knew that if I asked for everything less than 0.5, I would get about half the people said yes. If you needed 20% of the people to say yes, then equal RAND is less than 0.2. And it won't be exact all the time. Sometimes you'll have one extra person or one less person, but it's generally just, especially for fake data where you're just trying to show someone something, RAND is a cool way to do it.
I also use RAND between to make fake data sets for training purposes. So
right, yeah.
I use it all the time. I love my RAND between, and I have a lesson in this course that at least some of you have watched so far, where I say, because a lot of us have research backgrounds, right? Or university backgrounds or government agency backgrounds, where we have people in a treatment group and a control group. So the example is like use RAND between to randomly assign people to treatment or control group, like 1 for treatment, 0 for control. Somebody had asked, can't remember who, let me know if this was anybody here. How do you make sure you have exactly half ones and half zeros? I don't think there is a way. And Bill just said, like, you might be off a little bit too.
You might be off by 1. And I guess, geez, this is terrible that you would have to do this. In my case, there's only 14 of them, right? So yes, no, equal, count if, or count ifs, the plural version. Look through that data. I'm going to press F4 to put the dollar signs in, see how many of them are yes. I have 11 yeses and 3 nos. Wow, that's really weird. Oh, I changed one on the fly, didn't I? Yeah. Still, that is really strange. It wasn't even close. All right, Cool. I'm gonna go back and watch the video. I must have put the wrong formula in or something like that. It should have been really close. So equal ran less than 0.5. False. True. Oh man, it's not coming out at all. 7 and 7, that was good. 10 and 4. Yeah, so this is not a good way to get everybody.
Truly random.
Yeah. Yeah, but you would think, I guess if you had 10,000 numbers, it would get a lot closer. Huh, interesting.
There's some workaround somewhere that sometimes I think about when I'm out like bicycling or I'm washing my hair in the shower, and I'm like, I'm going to figure out this workaround. Kirsten says that was her question. Hers was off by 300 people. Yeah. That's a lot to manually adjust.
I mean, you could always do this sort, right? So that's where you just leave the ran there, right? Maybe press F9. It was random the first time you did it, but it's funny. I get people who would like want to press F9 7 times. There was one group I was with, and there were 2 departments, and one department wanted to press F9 3 times, and the other one wanted to do it 6 times. I'm like, it was random every single time. It doesn't matter. So just, press F9 until you get one, and then copy and paste special values, and then just sort. So data A to Z, and in this case, I want 7. So the first 7, these first 7 people are in group 1. And then the next 7 people are in group 2. So like Gary with 0.63, he's still in group 1. You just, something like that.
Okay. We're shifting into audience Q&A already, which is fine. We'll get back to the questions if we run out of Q&A.
Sure, right.
But Ernest has a great question that I don't know the answer to. Kenya has 47 administrative regions/counties. How can I list them automatically without typing each of them? Is there a workaround?
Yeah, let's go to Wikipedia, right? That list has to be somewhere online. I'm going to copy and paste into Excel, and it's going to be the ugliest thing ever. But I'm going to get those 47, and then I'm going to teach Excel that list, and then I'll never have to type it again, right? So you're going to have to type it the first time, or find someone who already typed it, and then save it as a custom list, and then it will be super easy. And the first one alphabetically, here's an example for a classroom, right? If the first kid's name is Andy, this is the greatest thing ever. But if the first kid's name is, Aloysius or 17 letters long, then put a nice little heading there like Kenya, right? And put the 47 items under that. Then you just type Kenya and grab the fill handle and drag it, and it'll fill everybody in. I use that custom list thing all the time.
I've never seen that ever before today. So if that's new for other people, or if a lot of what Bill's teaching, that's cool. Like that's why we have the recording. I think we're all going to rewatch it. Okay, Bill, keep teaching us some of your favorites. What's something about Excel that you feel like a lot of people don't know, but they should? A hidden gem, something that you're like, oh, everybody's got to know this thing.
This hidden gem, this is great. Some of these hidden gems I learn on the road, and I always remember where I learned this hidden gem. And this was in Fort Wayne, Indiana. I was in Fort Wayne when this hidden gem came out, and it's just one of my favorites. I'm going to share my screen again. I'm just going to come back, and here's my fake data set. Actually, I wonder if I can real data set. Hang on. Desktop, Power Excel. PCO1. Here's a good data set. All right, so this is 600 rows of data. I'm sorry, it's accounting data. It's just something I use all the time. And I'm a big fan of using the filter, right? So data, filter. And of course, if I need to see all the manufacturing customers, I would open this sector dropdown, uncheck select all, and choose manufacturing and click OK. And I get just the manufacturing customers. And that feature's been around for a long time. But somewhere around Excel 2003, they improved that feature. And I'm going to sound like a whiner. I'm going to apologize already. The act of having to click unchecked all drives me insane. It used to be that you could just open this drop down, click on manufacturing, and you were done. Now, it was impossible to choose manufacturing and retail, right? So there was a nice improvement. But for the times I'm just choosing one item, having to click 2 things, well, first uncheck select all and then choose manufacturing, it took something that used to be 2 clicks and made it be 8 clicks. And you say, so what? But it's 750 million people using Excel. And let's say that they just filter once a week. It's like, it's a billion extra clicks that they've foisted upon us. So here's the awesome thing that we're never going to use these filter drop downs again with this next trick. There is an old function in Excel that is not anywhere in the ribbon. And what we're going to do is we're going to right click and customize the quick access toolbar. And they have 40 popular commands here. And the command I'm looking for is not one of these because no one knows this command exists. We're either going to go to all commands, or my favorite is commands not in the ribbon. You know, I'm going to sound like such a geek, but the few hundred things that are here in commands not in the ribbon, if you're bored on Friday afternoon, like go through here and figure out what stuff they're hiding from us. This is stuff that's in Excel that they don't want us to find. And the feature that I need is called AutoFilter, not filter, but AutoFilter. So you choose that, click add. I already have it on my computer. If you would somehow let me come to your office and you let me use your Excel, this will end up there. I can't use Excel without this feature being on there. So let's say that I need to see all of the East region records. Notice that I haven't turned the filter drop downs on, right? This is absolutely amazing. I just choose a cell that says East and I come up here and I click this auto filter. I call it filter by selection, and I get all of the East records. And now I need the East records for product DEF, or no, product XYZ. I'll choose product XYZ, filter by selection. Now I just have East XYZ, and then I need everything for Southwest Airlines. I choose Southwest Airlines and filter by selection. And now I've filtered by 3 different columns without ever opening the dropdown, right? So that my whole complaint about you making me do 8 clicks instead of 2 clicks.
I think Bill froze for a second, but as his computer like reconnects him, oh my gosh, I love the time savings here because I feel like every single thing I learned about Excel, which I'm learning all new things right now. Oh, Bill, good, you're back. I was just saying, I love the time savings that you're teaching us, and just like do 2 clicks instead of 20 million clicks. And it adds up and it compounds, right? Because you think about how like you save 1 second here and 2 seconds there and 5 seconds over here. But
right.
Before you know it, something that used to take you an hour takes you like 3 minutes instead. And it just,
right.
I love this. Cool.
Right. Yeah. Yes.
Wow. This is great. Daniel says, it's so great. I wonder why they hide it. Jane says, auto filter equals awesome. Bill, what are some Excel features that you feel like aren't worth the hype? Maybe they take people a long time to learn. There's a big learning curve, but maybe not as much payoff. Cool. Anything we should just not bother learning about and we can ignore and not feel bad?
There are ones you don't already know, right? Which is good, right? Like there's something called the action pen. The action pen is brand new and it lets you draw your data. So I can use a mouse or a pencil on an iPad and draw 1, 2, 3, and it'll convert it to 1, 2, 3, right? Which is the weirdest thing. Why did they waste any engineering cycles on letting me draw numbers when I have a keyboard? So the action pen, I'm just not a fan of the action pen. It's one of the silliest things I've seen in Excel.
Have you used, I think this is only on the Excel app, like the phone app, but it's like you take a picture of a piece of paper and it converts the table. Does that work? Is that accurate?
It doesn't work at all, right? And here's the problem. Here's the problem. See this piece of paper? This piece of paper is perfect because it's never been folded. But the receipts that I get, everything does this, right? And once you fold that piece of paper, it never lays flat again. And now the problem that we have is the top half of this, the words are going that way, and the bottom half, the words are going that way. And if you fold the paper, it will not work. It's the worst thing. The stuff that they give you as a result of that, if you try and edit it, you should just start over from a blank sheet and type. I would even rather use the action pen rather than that, take a picture of the thing, because it's just terrible, right? And having 20% of the numbers wrong, that doesn't help me at all, right? I just become super nervous about the data. So yeah, not a fan.
So as a broke college student, I didn't want to pay for photocopying in my university library. So I was doing a research project on like something where I was was looking at all these books. I think they were too heavy to check out. So I brought my camera, which was like this big at the time. This was before smartphones. And I remember taking pictures of data tables in books in the university library. And then later, like looking at the numbers of tables. So when Excel came out with that thing, like just take a picture, scan your table, and then it fills into a spreadsheet. I was like, I lost a whole weekend of my life typing in numbers, but I'm actually really relieved that you're saying it doesn't really work very good because, you know, and these are books that when you open them, they're not flat. They have that kind of curve in the middle anyway. So so my life wasn't totally wasted.
I have a scanner over there that deals with that curve. It's all about the curve. And I have, someone that I ran into a seminar gave me 120 copies of Lotus 123 magazine, which was a thing back in the 80s. And I started out scanning all of those issues of Lotus magazine, but then I got like 6 issues in and stopped. I have no idea what that story has to do with anything. So
you don't still have those magazines sitting around?
No, they're right there. Yeah. 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 And it was wild to look at what was amazing in 1986. What new feature had just come along that they were like, you know, like type in January and grab the thing and have it fill February, March. Like that was brand new. And there was someone who was selling a foot mouse, right? So that way you could use your hands to type, but then your foot to click, right? That was a big thing. They advertised six issues in a row or something like that. And they still sell it. Like you can still buy a foot mouse if you need to be able to work faster, I guess. I have no idea. It's crazy.
I'm not that coordinated. I'm picturing like a drummer at a drum set who's like able to go like this at the same time with the little foot pedal.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't do that.
Right.
Oh, what if, okay, you talked about inventions. If you could invent or add a feature, what do you feel like is missing that Microsoft like needs to add ASAP because it would be so amazing?
Right. Yeah, I have a whole bunch of things that I have out there at User Voice that I've written about. The one thing that it took me 6 years to get in is pivot table defaults. Every time I create a pivot table, there's 6 things that I would change in every single pivot table. And after 6 years of lobbying, I finally got them to add that. So if you have Excel 2019 or Microsoft 365, go into File, Options, Data, and that first item there lets you change the defaults of every pivot table. Like I don't like compact form in pivot tables. If I have 3 items in the row area, I want 3 different columns for that. I want tabular or outline view. And so now that I can change that, that's alleviated a lot of stress. There's some brand new functions called let and lambda. I think lambda needs some help. There needs some helper functions there. I really think that they need to split the data, text split. I've already talked about that. Yeah, some things that Power Query might be able to do easier. Do you talk about Power Query at all in your course? No.
Nope.
Power Query is an amazing tool that was built for people who don't use Excel, right? There was a weird thing that happened back in 2010 where 2 large groups came together. The Excel people and the SQL Server Analysis Services people came together and had to use Excel as a front end to a tool called Power Pivot. And those SQL Server people, like their database people, they're not using Excel and they weren't good at Excel. So they wrote this set of tools. It was like a simpler version of Excel. It just had 1 tab across the ribbon, right? And it was easier to use. But Power Query has evolved and it lets you do so many just amazing things that Excel would be really, really difficult to do. I don't know. Can I share my screen again? I don't know if that's what caused the problem before. Let me try it. And for those of you, I'm going to apologize already. This is not on a Mac. It's only for people in Windows. So if we have a lot of people on a Mac, it's bad. I'm just going to create a fake data set here with some data going down the left-hand side and months going across the top. And this is, how data is often presented to us with these repeating groups going across, but it's a really bad way to create a pivot table to have that data going across. So there's my data set, and I need to be able to create. Pivot tables from this. I'm going to add sales rep in. So this is all Andy's data these items, these are also sold by Betty. And sorry to be really boring here. I'm just gonna put 111 all the way down here. That's Control Enter, by the way. You enter one thing and it all enters in that cell, right? So it's impossible to create a pivot table from this data. It's just super ugly data. So I'm going to, on the data tab, this new thing called Get and Transform Data. And it's weird. It was in the third group for a while, and now it's moved to the first group. And so I'm going to format this as a table. And here on the data tab, choose from sheet. It used to be called from table or range. And it takes us into this thing called the Power Query Editor. And there's now tools here that are better than the tools than we have in Excel. Like in Excel, we have text to columns, but here they've written split columns, and it has all kinds of extra things, like splitting things where we switch from digits to non-digits. I just had to use that one recently. But the thing I wanted to show you is the ability to take this data that's going across and turn it sideways. Excel has a transpose, but that's not the same thing. This is completely different. I want to keep these two columns along the left-hand side, and I want to unpivot the other columns. So like right now, I have 26 rows times 14 columns. After unpivot other columns, it just took that data that was going across and it made it go down, right? And now this data is perfect for a pivot table. So home, close and load, and it puts it on a second sheet. So my original data is here on sheet 1. That's what the original data looks like. And then this is the cleaned data, all right? And the amazing thing about this is, we should have timed that. That took maybe 50 seconds or something like that. But let's say it took 8 minutes. Next month, when you get new data in, so here we'll take Andy's apple and change it to 999 and Andy's banana to 111. The next time when I get data, this data changes. All I have to do is come here and click refresh, and it does all of those steps again, right? So it remembers how you cleaned the data the first time, and it becomes just 2 clicks to clean it the next time. So these Power Query tools, it's on the data tab under Get and Transform Data. There's just amazing ways to clean ugly data. I've seen some just horrible data sets, and Power Query makes it super easy to clean those.
If we have any Tableau users here, I feel like that's a common challenge with Tableau is what Bill just showed, I think is the workaround. I have to think about that. I'm going to rewatch that too, because a lot of people have to transform their table.
Right.
Just like that. This is so fascinating. Oh my gosh. I just looked at the clock.
It's crazy, isn't it? Yeah.
I want to hang out like longer, but we're almost out of time. So I know you have 2,400, 2,600 YouTube videos. What number are you up to now?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm somewhere up there.
Many.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So people can keep in touch with you there. I know you have 60 or 61 books. Right. Tell us about your latest book, because we have to quickly raffle off 3 copies to people who are here.
Yeah, that's great. So the latest book is called Mr. Excel 2021. This is a book that I wrote. My 40th book was called Mr. Excel XL, because 40 in Roman numerals is Excel, right? And to me, that was just hilarious, right? No one else here thought it was hilarious, but I absolutely thought that was the funniest thing ever. And so, if you have some numbers like 40 equal Roman, there's a function in Excel to convert that to Roman numerals. And so I called it Mr. Excel. XL was the 40th book. And then that book got old and I've updated it. And so now I just use the years. So Mr. Excel 2021, Unmasking Excel, kind of has the COVID, hopefully we'll be unmasking this year. So yeah, that book is out there. Now here, let's do this. I know you want to raffle these off, right? And maybe what we'll do is we'll raffle off physical copies, but I just think everyone here and everyone in your class, they should get a free copy of that book. So everyone's a winner, right? How about that?
I love it. I'm a millennial. We love trophies. So let's do it.
Okay. Yeah, right. Yeah. I'll put a link out there and I'll send you the link and you just send the link to everyone who showed up today. Now, for those of you watching on YouTube, sorry, should have been here. Go look at find it on Amazon or wherever, or catch me some other day when I'm giving stuff away. Right. So.
But I want to buy some physical books too for people. So I actually haven't, I think, can Rand Between do this? What if everybody types in, maybe everybody types in a number between, I don't know, Bill, how could we use Rand Between? So
do you still have that alphabetical list of everybody? I'm a horrible at Zoom. Is there a way to get a list of people?
I'm just looking at the participants list.
Oh yeah, there it is right there. Yeah, that's awesome.
You have to kind of open it up to.
Yeah. Is there a way to make it bigger? No.
No.
All right. So here, this is perfect. We have 16 participants, and you and I don't count because we're not, can't be winners. So we're going to pick a random number between 3 and 16. How's that? So right here, we'll make it nice and big so everyone can see it. Equal ran between 3,
Oh, wait,
16.
I can't see your screen. You
Oh,
have to show it to us.
Yeah,
for
right.
transparency.
Yeah. Otherwise we were cheating or something, right? Share. Okay. So equal ran between 3, 16. All right. So our first winner is the 13th person. You want to go check?
Vivian 16, Teresa 15, Margaret 14. I think it's Kirsten.
All right, Kirsten, that's awesome.
I think so.
And then what we could do is, so that's Kirsten, write that down. Sorry if I spell your name wrong, Kirsten. And then next is number 10. Who's number 10?
Gosh.
3 above
I don't
Kirsten.
know.
Just
I lost my list.
Who's above Kirsten?
What number? Kirsten was 13.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. 3 above. So there was Hudson, Jane. Who was before Hudson? Was it Ellen?
Ernest.
Ernest. Oh, Ernest. Nice. All right. And then you want to give away one more? Number 6. So 4 above Ernest.
Daniel, I think.
1, 2, 3.
Or Colleen. No,
Or how about Deborah? I think it's Deborah. 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah,
and Excel people do the alphabet. That's our test.
Hilarious.
So.
I have Deborah. So Deborah. How about that?
All right.
Cool.
But you all get ebook
PDF.
copies.
Yeah. Yeah. And here's the awful secret. Don't tell anyone this. The PDF is in color. The print book is in black and white. So the PDF is actually better. Yeah, it's searchable. And all of you who are getting the print copy, you're like, this isn't good. It's not in color. So.
All right. How else can people stay in touch?
Yeah. So check out my YouTube channel, MrExcel.com. At Mr. Excel, the website, Mr. Excel, the website, there's a forum there, which is an amazing thing. That's actually how I got started. I started out having people send me Excel questions, and then there were too many to answer in one day. The people who hang out the Mr. Excel forum, there's a community of people there. They answer questions for free. They collectively have answered over 1 million questions. If you Google an Excel question, you have a 1 in 3 shot of ending up at my forum. If you have an Excel question, it's free to register. Just go register, ask questions. You can post pictures of your data or even a little copy of your data, and people will give you formulas or macros or Power Query or whatever. So check out MrExcel.com, the great community of people there who are 24/7. I mean, you'll have a better shot getting an answer Wednesday at noon. But even in the middle of the night on Friday or Saturday, there'll be someone somewhere who can help you out. So great resource there.
Elizabeth says, that was fun. Thank you, Bill. Teresa says, this has been great. Thanks so much. Hudson says, thank you so much, Bill.
Cool.
Jennifer says,
Great.
so helpful. Thank you so much. This really was great. I echo what everybody was saying.
Yeah, thanks. It was fun. It was fun.
All right.
All right.
Well,
Cool.
I'll see you all later. The 3 physical book winners, email me your address and I'll find out how to buy them and mail them out to you. All right. Bye, guys.
All right.
See
Bye.
you later.
Thanks.